Hey guys, Jen here. If you write romance like I do or have love story subplots in your novels, then this tip is for you. So, in your story, you have to have structure. Structure is what makes it a story. It's what helps you to make sure it's not episodic, but there's actually something happening. There's an antagonist, there's an opposition in play, and all of the things that need to be there for it to be an actual story. This is also true in a romance. So, a romance follows the exact same structure that any other story would. However, in a romance, your plot points have specific nuances that are just slightly different than what you might use for a story in a different genre. So this is really important to keep in mind because if you are writing a romance story, so if you want it to be classified as romance, you want it to be in that category, then you have to follow this structure. And if you don't, then technically you're not writing a romance, you're writing something else, which is fine. But keep in mind that it won't be counted as a romance because romance genre is very specific and they have very specific criteria for how your story has to happen. So in a romance, the first plot point, of course, is the same as any other story. So in a story, the first plot point is that you're introducing your antagonist, you're introducing the stakes, you're introducing any personal stakes or anything that needs to be given to us so that we now know what's happening, what's in play, what the journey is going forward, who the antagonist is, how they want to oppose your protagonist in the story, what that's all about. We get clear on that at your first plot point. Now, in a romance, because you have a hero and a heroine, and a lot of times your love interest is the quote-unquote antagonist in the story, you are going to have a moment that happens at your first plot point where basically the two characters are now stuck together for a period of time. So something is going to happen in the story that's going to cause these two people to now be stuck together, at least temporarily. So it could be weather storm or something happens with that. It could be a fake marriage. It could be a decision that the two characters make to go on a trip together. It could be just something that forces them to be together. Maybe they don't want to be, but maybe they are forced into a situation of some kind where they're stuck together. You get to decide that, but you want something that's going to keep your two characters stuck together. Now, this is, like I said, slightly different than a traditional plot point for your first plot point because you are adding in this little bit on this is something that's going to make sure the characters are stuck together. Now, in my mind, the most powerful way to use romance structure is to use regular structure but bring into it the romance part, which is the two characters being stuck together. So, for example, like in the movie Leap Year, if you've ever seen that one, it's on Netflix, I believe. Definitely on Amazon, if not. In that story, the first plot point is when the female character who's been traveling, trying to get to Dublin, she finds a guy who is able to drive her there, and turns out she doesn't really like him very much. He's kind of an asshole, but he decides that, hey, he's going to help her out, and he offers to drive her to Dublin. This is her only option in order to get there because the transportation's a little messed up, the weather's been bad, so flights have been getting canceled, and she just has no other way to get there. So that decision of she's going to allow him to drive her just sandwiched the two characters together, and now they're stuck together for the journey of her getting to Dublin because now that's what's happening. And of course, he is the antagonist in the story, so he's getting introduced now as, well, now they're going to be stuck together. He's officially the antagonist. He's being introduced at the first plot point. We know what's at stake now, so she's stuck with this guy for the next however many days. She doesn't really like him. He doesn't really like her, so it's definitely going to be a pain in the ass situation for both of them. And we know that this is the only option she has. So, the stake is really either get in the car and go with this guy, or you're pretty much not getting to Dublin. So that is, how the first plot point worked in that story. And you can kind of see how it's just like a regular plot point, your first plot point, but you're still kind of bringing in that element of the two characters are being stuck together. So that's how a first plot point works in a romance. And if you're writing a love story subplot, you can use this not necessarily as your first plot point, because obviously if you're doing it as a subplot, you're going to have a main storyline that's going to take your plot points. But you could have something happening right before the first plot point that basically causes the two characters to be stuck together, or to have some situation that they're stuck together that kind of brings the subplot into the story and gets it started. So just some ideas to think about. It's your story, so you get to decide how you execute it as long as you're following the principles of story structure and of craft, of course. So that's it for me today. I hope this tip is helpful for you. And if you want to learn more about how to write a romance story, all the structure pieces that you need and how it works, then Definitely check out my multi-passionate mastermind group because we are doing a training in there tonight. If you're watching this video and it's not the same day, then the training is already done, but it'll be recorded so you can watch it immediately upon signing up. But basically, I'm going to be doing a training called Plotting Your Romance Story, and I'm going to be showing you all the structure points of a romance story, spelling it all out for you, showing you exactly what you have to do, giving you examples so that you can see how it works in an actual story, and then you're going to get to ask as many questions as you want. Now, if you are watching this and it's already past the date that the training was done, then even if you have questions, you can definitely come into our Facebook group and you get access to me in there to ask any questions that you have. So no matter when you're watching that training, you'll be able to get whatever you need to write the best romance story that you possibly can, plus a whole lot more, because the Multi-Passionate Mastermind is full of everything that you need to be a successful author and everything else that you dream of doing too, because you do not have to choose. So go to dreamlifeorbust.com/mastermind to learn more about this and to join us for Plotting Your Romance Story, the masterclass, which is happening tonight. And I'll catch you next time. Oh, it's clunky as fuck.